Welcome. Today we're going to talk about probability. In theory, there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is. There's a nice quote for you by Yogi Berra. If that name sounds familiar because of Yogi the Bear, well, Yogi the Bear was almost certainly named for Yogi Berra, the longtime Yankee baseball player who made a ton of really cool quotes, and this is one of my favorites. So what this is saying, this is talking about probability actually, that in theory, everything should go according to theory, right? Life should be just like it takes place on paper, but in reality, there's always a monkey wrench that comes in. All right, so here's where we find out. An experiment is an activity in which results are observed. We're going to have quite a few definitions this morning. Please make Cornell-style notes with questions for each answer. This is an answer. An experiment is an activity in which results are observed. Each observation is called a trial. So in an experiment, you can do a number of observations, and each one would be a trial. And each result is an outcome of that trial. For example, flipping a coin. You can flip the coin over and over again. Each time you flip the coin is a trial, and each time it lands on either head or tail, that's an outcome. The sample space is the set of all possible outcomes of an experiment. So in the sample space of flipping the coin, there's really two possible outcomes. It could land on head, or it can land on tails. And that's it. So an event is any set of one or more outcomes. So if we flip the coin 10 times, that would be one event, and we would have all the individual outcomes of those 10 flips would be the event. The probability of an event is a number always between 0 and 1. 0 means something definitely will not happen. I can't flip a coin and have it land on yellow. There's no yellow on the coin. It's either heads or tails. And the probability of an event being 1 means it's something that absolutely is definitely going to happen. When they say it's a 100% chance of rain, that's like having a 1, because 100% equals 1. That means absolutely it will rain today. Or you could say from 0% to 100%, and that's the same thing as 0 to 1. And this tells you how likely an event is to happen. You can write a probability as a fraction, or a decimal, or a percent. But always they're a number between 0 and 1, which means it's always a proper fraction. And as a percent, it has to be less than or equal to 100%. The rest of today's notes are just examples using the spinner. So you could draw the spinner, and we'll do a series of examples. This notation of having the P with the parentheses around it, and then something inside the parentheses, means the probability of, and then whatever's inside the parentheses is the outcome. In this case, the probability of landing the spinner on a 1. So we use this spinner to determine the probability. Since there are 8 possible outcomes, 8 little pie wedges there, we can have a fraction out of 8. And the probability of landing on a 1 is 2 out of 8, which would then reduce to a quarter. So if you make it as a fraction, you do need to reduce it. You could have written 25% as well, or even the decimal point 25. All of them are appropriate answers. What is the probability of landing on a 4? And feel free to pause the video and make your best estimate for each of these probabilities and then check back for the answer. The probability of a 4, again, is 2 out of 8, which is going to reduce to a quarter. Find the probability of an even number. Well, the evens are 2 and 4 and 2 and 4, which is 4 out of 8, which equals half, 50%, 0.5. The probability of landing on a 5. Well, That's 0. There's no 5 on the spinner. Probability of an odd number. 1 and 3, and 1 and 3, that's 4 out of 8. It's a half, 50% chance of landing on an odd. Probability of landing on an integer. It's 100%, or 1. They're all integers. The probability of landing on 1 or 2. Well, there's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. That's 4 out of 8, or 1/2, or 50%. The probability of a number greater than 1. So we have 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 6 out of 8 equals 3/4, 75% chance. Find the probability of landing on a whole number. Well, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all whole numbers, so it's a 100% chance, or a probability of 1. Find the probability of landing on a prime number. Well, the prime numbers here are 2 and 3. 1 is not a prime number. 2 is the lowest prime number, which means it can only be divided by 1 and itself. And 3 is prime. 4 is not prime because it can be divided by 2. So half of the numbers are prime numbers. Find the probability of landing on a square. Well, this one's a little tricky, but 1 is a square because 1 times 1 equals 1. And 4 is a square because 2 times 2 equals 4. So half of the numbers are squares. Find the probability of landing on a number less than 4. And if you said 3 out of 4, you are correct.